everyone, thanks for jumping on here. Very excited for the first series of our Mega Agent series. If you guys have been with Keller Williams in the past or you've explored on the E-Edge, Gary Keller has a series called Agent Mountain, where he finds the top talent around the area, around the country, interviews them, not only to get a perspective of what they've done to be successful, but also to record it and share it so other people can learn from it. So I said, you know what, who better to duplicate than Gary Keller himself? So we started the Meet the Mega Agent series, and the Mega Agent that I know nearest and dearest is Lori Tyrrell. So thanks for jumping on, Lori.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Rick.
You bet. So I've got a number of questions lined up, which we're going to talk about a little bit. And everyone else is out there listening. I encourage you guys to write down some questions, or you can put it in there towards the bottom on the question section. If you do that, I can make sure then at the end we can get all of your questions for Lori answered. So keep an eye out for that, and then we'll let you be an open book. Sound good, Lori?
Sounds good.
Let's dive right into it then. Let me tell us about where you started. Tell us about yourself, of what you got into real estate, when you got into real estate, and just how that whole journey has been for you so far.
All right, will do. And so first thing I'd like to say, too, is just kind of bear with me because, as Rick knows, this is my least favorite thing to do. Don't find it real easy to talk about myself or my successes. So was visiting with Craig a little bit before getting started, and as I started to go through and look at your questions, your bullet point questions, and think about how I would answer them, it helped me to realize that actually it's really only merely me sharing a story. Because if I believe in, which I do, it's that it's success through others. It's really me telling a story about the success as a group. So I appreciate that. And so with that said, I would love for you to just let me know what you'd like to learn.
Well, let's start from the beginning. What brought you into real estate? What did you do prior? Did you know you wanted to do real estate? Tell us about that journey when you ventured in and how that first couple of years were you as a realtor building your business was.
Okay. How I ended up getting into real estate, I didn't grow up with this big dream or vision that I want to be a real estate agent when I grew up, and certainly not a broker owning several real estate brokerages. I moved here from South Dakota when I was 18 years old and became very close friends with a lady that was significantly older than me. Her name is Sissy Youngers, and it was really more of a relationship of big sister, little sister kind of thing, as she took me in that type of a kind of a role model. And she was in real estate and had been in real estate for about 20 years. And she kept saying to me for several years, you really should get into real estate. You'd be so good. And she had a vision for herself to work herself out of the business and go and do what she was passionate about doing again, which was working with horses. She was a three-world-time champion trainer. And so she wanted to get back into that as well. So as time went on, of course, I really needed to keep my job, which was the security and all that kind of thing. And I was in banking, and I worked as a phone rep at SunTrust in their credit card division. So it was kind of like I'd go to my cubicle every day and say the same things over and over. And I was extremely competitive. And so as I sat there, really the only thing I had to compete with was this little digital sign that went across that I could see, which would show all the reps, how many calls they had taken. And so it was pretty much just that competition with this stupid sign all day long.
So naturally, you clear that sign, you got to make sure you're number one up in that sign.
Exactly. Taking those calls as fast as anybody else, so on and so forth. So I was 27 at the time, and I had grown quite a bit in the banking business. And I could see, some great opportunities for me and growth within the corporation. What had kind of happened is I think it was just too many days ago into that cubicle and competing with that sign. And there was a girl that came in and joined the company. And so for 3 days in a row, she was beating my stats. So believe it or not, this is one thing that a lot of people wouldn't share about themselves, but those that know me know I'm fairly transparent. And I had an anxiety attack.
I'm going to pause you real fast, Lori, only because I'm getting some people plugging in here. If you guys are joining on, do go ahead and dial in. If you click the audio, there's a phone number there, there's an access code and a PIN number. In the previous past, we've had difficulty with feedback of bad microphones and bad speakers. So if you can't hear anything, please check the audio tab, dial in that phone number and that access code, and you'll be able to hear everything that's going on. So sorry to cut you off, Lori. I was just getting an influence of people.
That's okay.
Having trouble there.
No problem.
So you're 27 years old. You're in banking. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically I had an anxiety attack and hyperventilated in my cubicle. And so they called me in and sent me to a counselor, and they basically told me I was drinking too much Diet Coke and I needed to chill off on that, and I needed to take a leave of absence for a couple of weeks. And so thought that was pretty crazy, and so I didn't give up the Diet Coke, and instead I went ahead and did my week cram course to get my real estate license that week, and figured that I would just do it on the weekends, helping to see, whatever I could do to start learning the business and stuff like that, but maintain my job. After, going through and getting my license and coming back to the job, realizing that, I had already made that mind shift and was ready for something bigger and better, and somewhere where I could, use the talent that I had and to be able to think outside the box. And so,
for the record, you've still not given up Diet Coke.
I still had not given up Diet Coke, no. So
Okay.
it got me through the cram course and two very small children. So, so at that time, I passed my first time, and I started to work with Sissy. First of all, I had gone in to interview, and I went and she worked for Higgins and Hayes Better Homes and Gardens at the time, and went in and met the manager there and spoke with dear John Daniels, and he was like 70-some years old at the time, and had just really taken a liking to me and taken me under his wing as well, and said, I asked him, what am I going to need to have? And he said, you're going to need to have at least 3 months worth of living expenses.
That hasn't changed at all since what we're telling now.
Yeah, so 3 months you need to have in savings or whatever. And I said, well, I don't have that. We're barely making it, day by day. And so he said, well, do you have a credit card? And I said, no. And he said, well, can you apply for one? So I did, and ended up getting approved for that. So decided to bring my mother and father and my husband at the time, my ex-husband, together to take them out for dinner to make the big announcement that I had quit my job and that I was going into real estate.
And how did they feel about that?
Huh?
Sure.
So it was quite a shocker for them. And, because although I didn't make very much money, it still was what we needed. We needed it in order to contribute. So I put them all at ease. Don't worry about it. I've got 3 months of a credit card. I just need 3 months is all they're telling me. So started with the company and went through their training and had an amazing trainer at the time with the company. And so went through the course that they offered. And, the key is when you get into real estate, I think with anything, is if you do what they tell you to do and they teach it, they teach what all the things, the basics that you're going to need to do, and you go out and you just do it, it's amazing the results that you get. So I was a good student, very learning-based, and knew that there was somebody that knew how to do it better than me, and just follow whatever they said and do it, and it would work. So,
now what year was that, without aging you, and I want people to do the math, what year was that you joined in?
It was in 97.
Okay.
And
so 1997, what was the models that you were following? Where did you join first? Who was your first company?
The first company was Higgins and Hayes Better Homes and Gardens, and it was the largest locally owned real estate company. They had about 250 agents. A lot of our agents that were with me then in those days are still with us today. So,
any shout-outs there you want to do?
What's that?
Any shout-outs there? You said some agents still with you now.
Well, David Frazier was definitely a big buddy of mine. Julie Boyd Elrod, who we are now with the Advantage Group very blessed to be in business with. She's the team leader at the Oviedo office. And ironically, it's just funny how, things come around and how God brings people back in your life and such. We talk about this often because when I went into the business, Sissy basically had a breakdown pretty quickly with a really rough few clients that she was working with, and decided that sooner than later she was done. And so I went in there and found my little desk, and I was offered all kinds of great opportunities, and instead I took a corner that was right behind Julie Boyd Elrod because she was the top producer and had an amazing, business going, hard worker, and I just wanted to emulate her, I figured I might as well align myself with those that are the most successful in the business And so I make sure I pull the chair right behind her. And through the years, we grew very close. She did ask me to be on her team, and I really thought about it, but decided that I wanted to be Julie, not work for Julie. So,
well, let's talk about that, because in your first year, you were Rookie of the Year, I understand. How was that first year? What were some accolades that you did to earn that recognition?
Well, the first, I was thinking about this because I had said something to Craig when we were talking earlier, and I had kind of gone back and checked that a little bit. In the first 6 months, I sold $2 million in real estate, and then the first full 12 months, it was $6 million.
Wow, and what was the average price point back then?
Well, the average price point then, I would say, if I had to guess, was somewhere around the 200s, but mine was a little different. Because I was just starting out and Sissy getting out of the business because I was going to be on her team, I kind of was just taking whatever opportunity I could get. And when John Daniels came to me and said that he had this lead to list this property, it was actually a quad, a fourplex over by the university, by UCF in University Heights. And so nobody else would take it. So he brought it to me and said, it's not a prize, but, you know, it can get you started. And I said, I'll take anything. So went in and sold that. And then that led to another listing down the road and another listing down the road. And pretty soon I was kind of the queen of the University Heights. So
the University Heights. So the moral of that story for people out there listening is don't turn your nose up at a property if it's not the most glamorous one, because it can lead to very prosperous opportunities. And there's other success stories I've heard from that. So there's one of your nuggets for the day.
Yeah, what it did for me, Rick, is that it wasn't necessarily that that's the niche I wanted to go through, you know, toward or have, but it created enough success where I could make the income that I needed then to build my business in the niches that I wanted to.
Awesome. So let's fast forward a little bit. When did your first opportunity with Keller Williams happen? And tell us why you found, because at that moment you could have gone, and I imagine, with a lot of brokerages to start a franchise, yet you chose at the time what was called Keller Who in 2002 when it started. There were probably, less than 10,000 associates nationwide?
Yeah, I would say that's probably pretty close. At the time, there was only one other Keller Williams office in Central Florida, and that was at Hunters Creek. And I had no idea who they were. I was the same as the Keller Who. I didn't even know them because they hadn't been there very long once I was introduced. And I, at that time, had gone to RE/MAX because Coldwell Banker had bought out Higgins and Heath. You know, it was in that kind of that era where they were, you know, really selling out or buying a lot of companies. And so, you know, nothing, not good or bad or indifferent. It just was not, it wasn't a match for me. I had left the corporate world for a while, you know, for a reason, and so to me it felt very corporate, and so for me it wasn't a match, and so I left within about 6 weeks and went to RE/MAX, and I had done that, I believe that was in '99, so I was there about 4 years, and I was building a team, and Stephanie Sosa, who a lot of people know is still, you know, around with us in the Advantage Group. And so she came to work for me as my assistant in '99, and I was very learning-based into lots of education on my own, not that RE/MAX was providing it, but I was just self-seeking it in places, whether it be Brian Bassini or Joe Stump or, you know, whatever it was, kind of a junkie in that area. And so she knew that, and with RE/MAX not having a lot of training, she said, you know, do you mind if I go to this training? And she said, it's free. You know, we love free. And so it's how to take your mega agent to the next level. And so I said, sure, why not? And so she went and met John Iannone, who was the team leader of the only office in Central Florida, which was at Hunters Creek. And they became, you know, friendly, and she started to go with the different training sessions that he did. And she was in the process with developing her own kind of, let's say, manual on how to go in and help mega agents in structuring their teams, because teams were just not a big thing then at all, and how to put systems in place and how to do kind of what we were doing, because I had a buyer's agent then. And it was something certainly I supported her on in her growth. And so he was helping her with that, and then she, kind of just kept coming back to me saying, you really, really need to hear about Keller Williams. It's a very interesting concept. And I say, no, I'm fine. We're fine right here. We're doing good. And, if the wheel's not broken, why fix it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then, she did that famous twist on me and said, after about the third time of asking me, she said, you always tell me, I hear you say it all the time, a smart business person doesn't say no until they know what they're saying no to. And so you're actually not even practicing what you preach. Threw that back at me, and that was still like, whoa, that was a low blow. And so then she said, if you ain't going to do it for you, at least do it for us, your team. So I said, fine. Tell them they've got an hour, and that's it. And so went and met with them, and 4 hours later, I was still sitting there extremely intrigued with the models and just the vision, the values, and the belief system of Keller Williams, because it was very much in alignment with who I was as a person, as well as the way that I was building my business and structuring, my team more in a partnership type of thing, because they were also getting bonus off of our profit for the month. And so it was kind of similar like that, and just really liked it. So I went to visit the Hunters Creek office, and obviously that didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense for my business when it was built over in Oviedo, and that's kind of where my influence was and where the majority of my business came from. And so,
and that was your first brokerage open. That was the Advantage Group were started in Oviedo.
Yeah, in Oviedo. Yeah, and that's where it was going to be. Well, that was where my influence was. I didn't know where it was going to be because, of course, I hadn't even started thinking about territories or anything. They were just trying to get me on as a mega agent.
Sure.
And so once we determined that wasn't going to be the best thing for my business, I like the model, I like the company, I like the whole philosophy, but it doesn't make any sense for me to be in Hunters Creek. That is when I started to look into it further on ownership. And so I traveled out to Austin a couple of times and then really started making a lot of phone calls and interviewing on offices that were in other places in North America that were more not Keller who, that had been established a little longer, and get an idea of what the profit share was really about and was it, a proven model that works.
So prior to that conversation you had with the Hunters Creek, were you even looking for ownership opportunities? Were you happy with what you're doing in your business in real estate?
I was totally not looking for anything.
The opportunities presented itself.
Opportunities presented itself through the training, through Stephanie being invited to a training class that she didn't even know it was Keller Williams. She had no idea what it was, and then saying to me, you need to check this out. And, I felt like then many decisions I've made throughout my career is I need to, launch a real estate office like a hole in my head, Like I'm not busy enough as it is. And, but, just really kind of passionate about helping others and growing others. And, I had a passion to try to change as many lives as possible while here on Earth, let's say. And so it just felt like I was the vehicle to do that. And with a lot of support from my family, I ended up doing that. And that's where I started, and that was in 2003.
2003, that was when Oviedo opened. When you started that, and I'm going to fast forward a decade, but before I get to the past decade of what's happened, did you have a specific vision? Did you think in 10 years you would have what you have and have the Empire's a big name, but have the number of people who are looking at you as a leader following you? Did you have a vision in 2003?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm going to have to say no. I didn't have this big vision when it was launched of let's grow it to X amount of agents or X amount of profit or X amount of offices or anything. I was passionate about people and, again, about, growing others and providing opportunity. And, it just has kind of happened. And so as the years have gone on, because of who I surrounded myself, I was never afraid. The key to the success that I've had has been aligning myself with people that are like-minded, but most importantly, that are smarter than me and more talented than me. Making sure I'm in business with people where their strengths complement my weaknesses. And so, quite honestly, that's really what it's been about, is just surround yourself with talent, putting the right people in the right seats at the bus, making sure that, you know, you're in company with people that are a good mirror reflection of you.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. And so in the 10 years, we can fast forward and say you opened up with a vision to help others and decided to open up a Keller Who franchise. And now you've got 3 offices, Oviedo, Waterford Lakes, and Lake Annona. You've got a portion of ownership in a title company, First Advantage Title, mortgage company, Synergy Mortgage, graphic design with Email Stationery with Ken Granger, Chris Gordon in insurance, part of Strategic Alliance. You've got 350 agents on track to sell 1,800 homes this year. You have the most homes sold of any broker in the entire board on track for, having 3 offices. So not having a vision, and 10 years later, you are absolutely dominating every sector of the 3 offices you own. So let me talk about your Strategic Alliance, of how did those come about with specifically the new opportunities of Waterford Lakes, the opportunity of Vista Lakes turning into Lake Nona, and also your partnerships with mortgage, title, insurance, graphic design. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, as far as for Waterford Lakes, one of the things, you know, I say I didn't really have a vision, you know, of being this or that or having whatever, but the one thing that I did definitely have a vision of when I was making the decision of how it would grow and how it would grow the best. And I looked at proposing for Waterford Lakes because I felt that that area was going to probably be the best potential at the time for the growth, but also knew that my influence was Oviedo. So I sketched out a territory that ended up getting approved that had both in it at the time. And as real estate grew, as the area grew, it just then needed to be divided in half. And I kind of pretty much knew it would be. And so I started in Oviedo with influence, knowing that we're going to Waterford Lakes and that I'd had the first opportunity. And so with that, it was just, you know, those agents that I was in business with that was causing the most success for our office through their leadership and their influence, offered them an opportunity to what we call core members, to where if we'd be incubated for 12 months and that they could earn the right to purchase shares within the company. And so maybe 30% of Waterford and LLC for those core members. So they had to do that by rescuing an agent, then they had an opportunity to buy a share into the company. So within that 12 months, those 5 individuals recruited, I believe the number was like 66 agents, but we launched with 89 agents the day we opened. And that was merely
doors open, brokerage, 89 agents with 5, you said 5. I know there's a lot of more people who have core, but really 5 key influencers.
That's correct, yes.
Still with and part of the office today, with George Philbeck, Ray
Absolutely,
Lopez,
yes.
Yin Yao, Beth Woodhall.
Yep. And then Beth Woodhall became the team leader. As it started out, she was one of the core members offered, and then they went to launch and FSO and things to learn also as core members. And why there, her and Jenny both came back and said, Beth really needs to be the team leader. And so, you know, as everyone knows with Recruit Select, it's a process that's extremely important within our company to make sure that we're making the right hires, because I can tell you that that's where, if I had any regrets or what I would do over or what biggest mistakes was hiring in desperation and not going through a process to find the right talent. And so in learning that, although we do have these tools, and Recruit Select is about taking the time to work through a process and a relationship using tools. That was not what the recommended JARs, let's say, scores for those.
The behavioral profile.
It's a behavioral profile. And so, although, they're a tool to use, and they show like what other very successful team leaders have, these were their profiles. And so it gives a percentage of accuracy to what the person compares to it. So we had time. So she had a great opportunity as a core member, and it was just sort of, let's take it as a dating process, sort of courting, and gave her the opportunity, because you're not matching up I wanted to make sure I continued to look and made the very best decisions that I possibly could for the office and leadership. That's just continued to perform the role and stepping up. And through her track record of success, earned her that opportunity. And so, that's what I look for is, yes, I use all the tools. They guide us. But in the end, the biggest thing for me is a track record of success, proven evidence. And she proved herself.
Which and you've got a niche, like you said, of surrounding yourself with people in partnership, whether it be through Beth, whether it be through Rich Carpentieri, who helps resurrect Lee Vista now, or Vista Lakes, now Lake Nona, Ryan Coleman, Vicki and Clarissa. What would you say is your greatest attribute or quality that you bring to the table as a successful businesswoman? Why do people want to be in business with you?
I would have to say probably my commitment, perseverance, don't give up. It's a game of survivor. You're going to outlast, outwit, outplay. My 100% commitment, my ability to take a risk, getting the courage to take risks and challenges, and sometimes not in the most apt time, where other people might think that's crazy. I saw it as an opportunity, and when the opportunity was there, I had to have the courage to take it then, knowing that there's going to be trouble. There's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a challenge. But I'm kind of a 100% or nothing kind of girl. And so, staying in that commitment and providing opportunities to others, I would say.
Let's talk about challenges. You took on Waterford Lakes in 2006, which was at the tail end of a heyday. You took on Vista Lakes in 2009, if I'm correct. And as everyone on this phone call listening knows, or you may not know, that was a very volatile portion of real estate, a downward spiral, if you will. And yet you have two offices that are still able to recover and be atop of their territories. What do you think was the difference maker in that turbulence period of real estate?
The difference maker to why we made it, to me?
Yeah. Why you came out not only making it, but thriving.
I mean, it's just, obviously the company, the education, and the models, but for me, downright, it's like the people I'm in business with, bringing in talent, people that have that same like mind. There is no plan B. We're going to make it through this, and we're going to come out successful. So I think it's just, it's been about the agents and the team leaders and the people I've surrounded myself with, now going with the next stage, bringing Craig, my cousin, in from England, another track record of evidence of success. And, that's the key. I think the agents, when they surround themselves with like-minded and they mastermind and they share and just kind of come together as a family, it's extremely powerful.
And I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good segue. And guys, people out there listening, as we're wrapping up my questions, I do want to encourage you to have some questions you've written down. Go ahead and start typing them in the question session. That way I can almost get a pipeline of questions in. We'll wrap it up, and then I'll unmute you, and you can ask her. So as we're doing that, what is the next level of success for the Advantage Group? What's the next level of success for you now that we're here and we've reset into a recovering and perhaps thriving market the last 12 months? What does the next 10 years look like?
Well, I think for me, I think it's going to be, I can't say that I have any really passions or visions to go out and open another market center or be an OP. I mean, at this point in time, it's, being there to support and to invest in my agent partners and my team leaders that have created the success and look for opportunities for them, support them in that. I invest all day long in other agents. It's more for me going vertical rather than horizontal, vertical passive income, and looking for those types of investments and, things where I can have a percentage of and support and invest in others.
Okay, so I really don't know what that opportunity is, yet when you find it, you're going to make sure it leads towards the passive income of yourself and those who you're in business with.
Absolutely, yep.
You've always had...
Sorry?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
And so I was just saying, as far as for the Advantage Group, again, bringing Craig in, Craig working in partnership with us, being that, that's not necessarily my strength as far as being strategic and having them, the goal setting and the plans in place. And he's been working hand in hand with the MCAs and the team leaders who have developed the 3-year plan going forward. And, them taking it upon themselves, and it's their plan, and it's just me reviewing it and saying, yes, I agree with it, stamp of my approval, I see it, it's possible, and want to help to lead them in any way I can to accomplishing that, which will open up opportunities for them. And so Craig's going to be leading them through that, and it's a very specific plan over the next 3 years.
Yeah, which we've been working diligently with. I would unmute Craig right now. Craig, if you're listening out there, go ahead and dial in. I'm not seeing a green light, so maybe you have to do a PIN code. I'd love to have your input on that as well for the next 3 years. In the meantime, I'm going to add a couple questions here for you. George Philbeck, you're unmuted. Can you hear me, George?
Yep.
All right, fire away. Sounds like a real radio show. I feel pretty proud. We can hear you. Fire away, George.
Cool. Hey, Lori, looking at everybody as a whole, when you're looking at all of your agents, there's got to be something, maybe a couple things that come out that glaringly you feel your agents are doing really better than the average market. And I'd be interested to know what it is that really that you feel a lot of them are doing really, really well. And the same token, if you could wish upon us one other tool, gift, discipline, what would it be to help us be even better in this market? What would that thing be?
Well, I think that the agents are succeeding through the education and through their commitment, and being willing to change with the market the way that they need to, but really staying focused on that one thing. And Gary's teaching us from top down, and it's all about lead generation too. Lead generation and technology, and being forward thinkers, future thinkers, and sticking to the disciplines that they need to. And mainly, that's their lead generation time.
Good there. Harold had a question, and anything else, George?
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Cool. Harold said he's got kids around him and he can't talk. I guess it's at a birthday party. But Harold Cuervo said, what were the finances that you needed to open up your first office and even offices from there? What does it take to open up a Keller Williams office? Is this something on somebody else's radar, what they'd like to do?
Well, that has changed over the years, that's for sure. Originally for me, it was, the franchise itself was $18,000, and then you had to have a financial security, so you had to show proof that you had X amount of money that was liquid. And I personally didn't have very much money, so I did an equity line of credit on my house, and that was able to prove that I had liquid funds. And so it was taking a big step out there. The second one went from $100,000 to $250,000. That was a lot easier to prove then at that point in time. And so now I don't know exactly where it stands, but I would say it's probably about $25,000 for a franchise and $250 to $350 of proven liquid funds.
Which if and obviously you would know more, I believe to be an OP, which is your role as the operating principal, you need to have at least 20% ownership in the office. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I would say that, I think that David Osborne said it best. He's a regional owner, owns lots of market centers and regions. You got to earn it, really. In today's world, it's a little bit different. They do put you through, quite a bit in order to launch a new market center. But typically, you get the opportunity by earning it through your leadership or your results, or, like I said, I was kind of a vehicle, going into taking over Vista Lakes and Castleberry, which now is Lake Nona, a vehicle because of the success that the agents have had in the office. And so that's typically a lot of how it works too. But there are so many opportunities within Keller Williams, and George is always looking to try to launch new opportunities and things. So they're out there.
And actually, I had a question like that from my coach on MAPS coaching of how do I know when the next opportunity comes? She says, Rick, just grow where you're at, succeed where you're at, and the opportunities will come to you. And that sounds like it will happen in your history as well. You went in there, you did it really well, and the next opportunity came for you.
That's exactly right. It's just a track record of results, evidence of success. They want to see you step up. It's like, they're not going to come and chase anybody down. That's for sure. Just like I'm not going to chase, a team leader and beg them to come to partnership with me. No, they have to kind of keep me challenged. Come at me and want it.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask you, you mentioned David Osborne. I know that we saw him about 4 months ago, and he really struck you as far as perhaps thinking in abundance. Tell me about your experience that you've had, really, or your epiphanies that you've had listening and speaking with David Osborne in depth in the past couple of months.
Well, I think for me, when he came to
and who is David Osborne, if you want to share people who David Osborne is?
David Osborne is one of our regional owners for North Florida region, and he has ownership in California, Texas, an OP for several market centers. I think he has ownership in about 13. He also is the son of Asia Osborne, who is the #1 profit share earner in our system. And, one of the things when he came was, just his energy was incredible. And I think, one thing is, Craig and I were talking about this too, is like, what challenges, what challenges have I faced? It would take hours and hours and hours, to go over the mistakes or the challenges that we face. And I think that's one thing, like with agents going through the tough market that we did and stuff, it's the ability to get back up, to dust off and keep going. I too have gone through personal, challenges and just like anybody else. And I think every single person has those kind of challenges in their life, whether it be divorces, whether it be deaths in the family, illnesses in the family, children, whatever. We all got challenges. And so sometimes you hear an agent say, well, once I get this challenge over here taken care of, then I'll do X. Or once I get that challenge taken care of, then I'll do X. But really, life is a challenge. And guess what? When you're done with this X, there's going to be another challenge. They just go hand in hand. And so it's, not that I didn't, have my own times where you go down too. It's just that you can't let yourself stay down, though. You got to get up, brush yourself off, and continue to stay on that path and persistent to go at it. And, David just kind of inspired me through that he has just continued to grow in his enthusiasm and helping people and, building. He wants to build 5 millionaires in his life, and very, very, very clear on his vision and his focus and what he does every day. And so Go Abundance is a website that he's created, and so I've started coaching with that.
GoAbundance.com. Carrie Light, I've got you unmuted. Can you hear me, Carrie?
Yeah, but can you hear me?
We hear you. You're officially live. I feel like and if you guys don't know, I wanted to be a radio disc jockey growing up, so I'm finally living my dream. So, you're on the air. Go ahead, Carrie.
Lori, I was wondering over the years, who have been, I know you were just talking about David Osborne, who else has been a great source of mentoring, coaching, even inspiration, whether inside or outside of Keller Williams, like who's kind of laid some inspiration for you, been able to kind of latch on to and stretch yourself, grow yourself?
That's a tough one. There's a lot of them, Carrie.
Well, you can just give us a whole list.
There's a lot of them. I mean, beginning from beginning in my real estate career. I mean, I got to shout out to my parents. Obviously, my mom, was a lifesaver because my kids lived there, more than they lived with me. The schedule that we had to keep, and so I never ever doubted about them and their support. Going forward, I'd say I'd have to use Judith Elrod as one of those mentors and really life-changing persons for me. She's a hero, and I always want to.
Carrie, I'm going to mute you. I'm getting some feedback, so I don't mean to cut you out.
Okay.
There. Go ahead, Lori. Keep going.
And I guess Georgia Alpizar, she's one of those that just constantly pushes me and challenges me and tests me. And Craig has been a huge inspiration. And Debbie Parrish, who I came into the real estate industry, and she was like on my third transaction, and sat me down and said, "You are going to be phenomenal. You can do anything that you want, and you're amazing. You're going to do big things." And Darlene Brown and Susan Blair. There's just so many. My team leaders now, I could ask for a better partner. So there's a ton.
Well, I'm going to unmute Julie, and Julie, I'm putting you on the spot right now. Can you hear me, Julie?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
So your name has been brought up 2 or 3 times. She grabbed a spot right behind you. She's now listed as one of her top 10 mentors. What did you see in Lori, and how has it been for you watching from the outside in, and now is the reason being a partnership aligned with her again?
I am so grateful for her accolades and all, and I really do appreciate it. But I tell you, she's just been a little fireball from the very day that I've met her, and there was never going to be any stopping her. Lori was just on the path to success, and the faster she could go, the better she liked it. And she's just, I just am in awe of what all she has accomplished, and just, I mean, she's and remained down to earth at the same time. It's just, she is a true inspiration, and should be to all of our agents. And I mean, she's just a little dynamo, and she's like that Energizer bunny. She just keeps going and going and going.
I
can't say enough good things about her. She's just, and at the same time, she's just remained humble and faithful, and just I'm just so pleased at this point in my life to be aligned with her, I think that she can take these 3 offices to the very heights of whatever she wants them to be.
Fantastic. Thanks for being on the spot there for me.
Thank you.
I'm also going to unplug here Craig, because Craig's been a huge part of the vision of what we've been doing here, especially for the last 18 months, probably almost 2 years. Craig, you just went over an extensive 3-year plan with us, and of course you're in partnership. Craig Delahoy is her cousin from England and also a 7th-level realtor. And Craig, what would you say is your part? Were you actually uprooting your family to come over here? You obviously see some opportunity. Tell us about what we could have in store with your help and your guidance along with Lori for the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you very much. I think the first thing you need to cover, Rick, is that 18 months ago when Lori invited me over to look at her businesses, she was completely open book. And I'd like to challenge most people that run a business that would be able to do that without fear. And I think that's one of the reasons she's been so successful. I think that's one of the reasons why she's been so endeared by everybody and everybody loves her so much, is because she has that openness, that she's prepared to sort of bare her soul for the betterment of everything. And I think that's amazing. So to have that quality is absolutely huge. And obviously from Lori's point of view, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. So we see a massive opportunity within the Keller Williams Group as a family. My business partner back home has entrusted me to come here for 18 months while he's run the business back home, because he sees opportunity within the Keller Williams Group. And I think with the talent that's been aligned with Lori over the last few years, and from the team leaders to some of the mega agents that are here that are looking for the next thing, I can only see exciting times ahead, because opportunities will present themselves, and it's just a matter of who wants to take those opportunities.
So looking for some volunteers.
Always.
Fantastic. Well,
I mean, Craig's nailing it there. I don't know how well I said it, but that is just kind of what's next for Lori. But it's not really about that. It's what's next for anyone else who wants the opportunities. I'm ready to go vertical and just continue to grow that way while they rise, whether it's the core group, the team leaders, or new core members, Looking for, that to rise up and to continue to push and challenge, but going 7 level like it's supposed to be in the MREA book, and, which creates me the opportunity to work on other businesses and other things.
Fantastic. Craig, I'm going to mute you back. If you want to unmute, let me know. We're wrapping up here a little bit. If there's any other questions, please jump it on there and type it in or raise your hand and I can see it. Lori, what have I not asked you or talked about that I should have?
Maybe I think, I guess just maybe, talking about, the industry in itself and, what creates Keller Williams to be that company of choice, through the education and the technology and, the culture of the agents.
So let's talk about that. The first part was the market. And you got into business in 1997, so that is about 16 years ago. Tell me, how is the real estate market different now than it was in 1997? What's the significant change, if there is a significant change? I know we've hit some peaks and valleys.
There's peaks and valleys. It's changed many times. When I got into the industry, there was probably an average of about 13,000 homes on the market, and they were taking about 4 months to sell. And then you can say like in 03 to 05, it was taking about 3 hours and multiple offers, and, we had the hugest, shortage of inventory in the history. And then there was, the shift comes in 2007 and 8 is, completely opposite spectrum of the market. So I've kind of been through it all. And it really kind of, goes back to it's sticking to the basics, sticking to models, using tools, and being in business with the right people.
So back to basics is the solution. What would you say has been the most difficult time for a realtor to survive? I mean, I hear back in the late 80s when interest rates were 15, 16%, and I just can imagine if that happened in our industry right now, how many people will be pushing the panic button. What was the most difficult time that you saw and or experienced?
For me personally, or the market?
Well, for you personally, and
yeah, probably just a little bit different. Because to me, the market is the market. Whether it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market, the market is the market. So we can say it was difficult when, or it was difficult when. I mean, getting 20 offers in the first day of listing a property does not make it an easy job to be in the real estate industry. Marketing and having REO properties and having to go completely to high admin and stuff, that is just not an easy thing. For me personally, it was these challenges and struggles were me was going through a bad period where, my friends and my agents and people I care about were struggling and, having to file bankruptcy or foreclosures themselves, out of jobs, unemployment being, so bad. So those types of things, to be honest with you, that's me, so, and where my profile, although I'm not a match for a team leader, that probably was my biggest challenges because it was taking me so far out of my realm of my big heart and wanting to help everybody. When I'd get home at the end of the day and I'd been through that conversation 10 times with tears and everything, it just kind of was just really, hard. But, we stuck it out and, I've had to make some really unpopular decisions throughout the process. And, but it's just being willing to make them, having to be a leader and make the right decisions for the entire group that's going to best move everybody forward. And
well, that's one of the qualifications of a leader is making
have the faith and have the courage and always just do the best, make the very best decision that you can. And, I think that can be a challenge, along the way for people. It certainly was for me. And I made mistakes, and I made, a lot of mistakes. And I also, made some really good decisions that were still unpopular. But, it's just do the best you can, make the best possible decisions you can, and then be okay with them and accept it and kind of move on.
And fail forward or succeed ahead, one of the two.
Exactly.
So you mentioned a lot about getting back to basics, following models, following systems, education, and that's Keller Williams as a whole. Of course, Gary Keller started the premise of the company off of a corporate coaching consulting company that happens to be the business real estate. What would you say specifically separates and makes the Advantage Group different, even from other Keller Williams offices? What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I'm most proud of the culture. And what I'm most proud of, obviously, the education. I think because we have such high-minded agents, we have the best talent, by far, in my opinion, of the agents that are with any office, even Keller Williams, in percentages of how many successful agents that we have. So obviously I'm proud of the education and the technology, but really, for me, I'm most proud of the culture, and that I've been able to, they say it comes from the top, and sometimes that's hard for me to talk about or hear or accept or say thank you, but the one thing that has been important to me is that I want the staff members to want to come to work. Everybody's got to go to work every day. They got to make money, and knowing that they enjoy coming there and being a part of the family, and to see the agents hang out and to high five and support and mastermind. There's no private, selfishness going on, and there's been times, throughout the years that make decisions because we choose not to be in business with certain people. And there's been times when, I've accepted that I'm going to have to choose to no longer be aligned with someone because we're not like-minded anymore, and knowing that that was going to cause us to lose quite a bit of company dollar with followers. And it's still making the right decision. It's about our character. It's about who we are, and not the money. It's not about the money. And maintaining that kind of philosophy is, I think, extremely important, and what sets us different than other companies.
Fantastic. Okay, we're wrapping up for the time. It's been thanks for helping me introduce this Meet the Mega series. I think I'm very ecstatic with the results of it. I think it's been great to get to know you. Of course, I've been a team leader of the Waterford Lakes office for just over 2 years, and in business with you for just shy of 3, yet I never really had the opportunity or even the questions to sit down and really understand the story. So I appreciate it for myself. Anything, let's see, oh, there's one more. Dave Frazier. Dave Frazier was here. He's like a teenager with a can of graffiti.
Thank you, Dave Frazier, for being there.
Thank Lori, got a bolt, get the kids. Okay, that was a question, so that jumped in there. No, it's been fantastic. You had a whole lot of people on here getting to know you. And if anything else, we'll close it out.
No, say, thanks, and it was an honor. And like I said, I had a little bit tough time with it because it is not my thing. I don't like to be spotlighted. I just don't. I'm so proud of the agents, and that really it's success through others, so it doesn't have anything to do with me. It couldn't have been where I'm at, and I appreciate that opportunity. And to know who you have coming up in the next 2 weeks, I'd encourage everyone to get on, because I know who you've got lined up, and they're just phenomenal. And so to continue to come back.
Yeah, I got, thanks for bringing that up. You can see on the screen, Steve Tufts is next week. Steve is a 7th-level realtor. He had a team up in Atlanta, Georgia area, and now he's the owner-broker of multiple Keller Williams offices, including Melbourne, Daytona Beach, Jacksonville. Brilliant, brilliant businessman from the industry where he came and how opportunities came to him as well. So that's going to be next week again from 5 to 6 o'clock. Meet the Mega Series. I love it because I get to hang out and talk with just brilliant people, so it helps my circle of influence. So thanks very much, Lori, and everyone else who jumped on here.
One last thing to say there, too, is that to answer Carrie's question is, Steve Tufts was another one of those for me, and so was Gene Rivers. And I know you've got them lined up to come, so great influencers of mine. It's not rocket science, not that smart. Really, I didn't go to college. I'm like not that smart, but it's just, seeking wisdom from those, be willing to seek wisdom from those that know more than you, that have the track record of success, and all you have to do is just, mimic them and follow it, and do what other people are doing that are successful.
So I know I can count on you for next week, right, Lori?
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. I'm going to have this up on YouTube probably in the next couple of days. If you want to check out the YouTube page, it's YouTube.com/Bosley Rick. You'll see this, all the other webinars, all the other coaching sessions, and of course the new series of Meet the Mega Series. So check that out, and we'll keep growing and learning and making some money in real estate together. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Take care.